Sprint qualifying is the order of the day. Yes, it is a sprint weekend, Sarah. Yes, we are live once again. Hello, Josh and Sarah. Also, come up twice. Oh, have I loaded the chat up? That's a good question. Yes, I have. Beautiful. Who do I think is going to get sprint pole? I mean, if anything is to go by in free practice one, it's looking pretty Oscar Piastri likely. But you never know. You never know. Mike Good, thank you very much. Chelsea for FC forever. Sally, hello again indeed. Who do I think will win? We're not here for winners. We're here for pole positions today. But who do I think will win? Again, like I've just got a feeling it's Piastri's weekend. I was talking about this earlier. Just feels like more of a Piastri circuit. In fact, it feels like a Max Verstappen circuit. But Max Verstappen's Red Bull unlikely to win the Grand Prix, it has to be said. Just considering the form it's been on in recent weekends. But to be fair, if there's one person who's going to be able to do it, it's probably Max Verstappen, isn't it? He will probably find a way. But that's just my general feelings going into the weekend. Pole for Nico Hulkenberg. Or you could be like Finnish Guitar and really just go for it. New to F1, any advice? Just enjoy it. Find drivers that you like. Find a team that you like. Try and pick a few drivers to begin with that you're going to keep an eye on more than the rest. And then eventually you'll be able to expand out and you'll have an encyclopedic knowledge of all of the drivers in every single possible way. Also, controversial, but Drive to Survive is pretty good. Who do I think is going to win the World Drivers' Championship? It's 8 points is not enough, is it? 8 points between the two of them is not enough for me to definitively point at one or the other and say they're going to win, they're not. I think it is going to go all the way down to the final race of the season. I think in Abu Dhabi, in whatever it is, 3, 4, 5 months' time, we're going to be sitting there and going, could go either way. It's going to be down to who gets pole position. It's going to be down to who wins this one. Feel like it is really going to be that tight this season, if I am honest. But I do think that Spa as a sprint race weekend is an interesting one. Obviously the longest circuit on the entire calendar, so doesn't really, in my opinion, sort of lend itself to being shortened down to a third of the distance and then being sprinted through, just because we're not going to get that many laps. I know that there are quite a few overtaking opportunities, and to be fair, in the sprint races, we don't see that many overtakes happen anyway. But I think it will be interesting to see who ends up where and what we kind of get when it comes to that kind of thing. How many laps in the sprint anyway? Ooh, that is a good question. I think it's not many. I want to say like 9 or something. No, it got to be more than that. 12? I should look it up. I'm just guessing. It's 51 in the actual Grand Prix. So then a third of that would be like 15. Hello, Dan No Skill. Dan No Skill's in the chat. Hello, sir. Hello, mate. Advice for newbies: support Williams. Yeah, I suppose they're one of the nicer teams. There's always like quite a lot of positivity around Williams, isn't there, for someone coming into the sport. Also, the fact they've now got Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon is like they got 2 drivers there that are pretty decent and that you can support and not feel bad about because they get quite a lot of love between the two of them. Piece of advice for Ferrari fans: don't choose Ferrari. Don't choose Ferrari. 17. There you go, 17 laps. We'll take your word for it, Sarah. If it's not 17 laps, everyone go to Sarah for their problems with that. McLaren fan. I'm a McLaren fan. Do I think Arvid Lindblad will replace one of the Racing Bull drivers. Seems like it's going that way, doesn't it? He got his super license confirmed. Red Bull put in an exceptional circumstances thing for him to get his super license before he's actually got enough super license points. Oh no, is it with his age? He's only... It's one of the two. It's either he's slightly too young or he hasn't quite got his full super license points. I can't remember which way around it was. But Arvid Lindblad has now been given his super license by the FIA, so can take part in free practice sessions. He can get involved in the team. He can do a lot more running than he would have been able to without it. And he can join the Formula One grid officially. So it certainly could be that Arvid Lindblad is going in that direction to replace one of the RB drivers. At the moment, it's not looking like it's going to be Isaac Hadjar. But then you've got the debate, do you put Isaac Hadjar next to Verstappen? If Verstappen stays at Red Bull, it's all a lot of jigsaw pieces to put in place at Red Bull at the moment. When is it not at Red Bull? They always seem to have a just surplus of drivers, but then none of them in the right places at the right time is always how it seems to go. You know, you look at a few years ago, they had Daniel Ricciardo, Nick de Vries. They've both been given the boot now. Lawson was kind of in the background, but now got the full Red Bull seat, then taken away from the full Red Bull seat. There's a lot of do's and fro's when it comes to the Red Bull higher-ups and who they decide to go where, because I don't think they have much of an idea. But Arvid Lindblad, to be fair, does feel like one of those drivers that will likely be put into the Red Bull stable sooner rather than later, just because of how much they've given him. I think the thing with this, and I was debating making a video about this. We talked about it a little bit during Free Practice 1. The problem that Red Bull really have is, yes, even though they've got that second team, the second team's car is absolutely nothing like the main team's car. So you go into the second team and you go, wow, it looks amazing. You know, he's driving really well. He's putting in performances. He's getting to grips with this car. And then you take him out of this car that is quite nice and quite easy to drive, and you can adapt to your style. And you take them out of that and you put them in a car that is literally solely built for Max Verstappen and can only be driven in one way. Like Yuki Tsunoda was even talking about this at the beginning of the season, where he was like, I'm just having to adapt everything that I've learnt over my 5 years of Formula One experience to completely adapt how I drive to this new car that I'm in. So even if Arvid Lindblad does go into the sister team and then gets his opportunity there, I don't know how much of that experience is like actually applicable to the Red Bull team. Whereas what I think Mercedes did really well with Kimi Antonelli, and I know Kimi Antonelli's gone off the boil a little bit in the last few races, some his fault, some Mercedes' fault, but the one thing that they did with him, which Red Bull don't generally do, is gave him lots of running in machinery that was akin to what he was going to be moving into anyway, right? So they gave him lots of running in Mercedes machinery that has the same DNA and the same driving style as the Mercedes car that he was going to be driving this season as a rookie. So maybe Red Bull need to do a little bit more of that. You know, Yuki Tsunoda, having said that he was at the sister team for 4 years, only got his first opportunity to drive the main Red Bull team car last year in Abu Dhabi. He had to wait 4 years to get one run in a proper Red Bull car. And then you go, well, why hasn't he been performing over the last 10 races? It's because actually he's never really driven a Red Bull before, and he's never really had that opportunity to do so. And is the hardest car to drive. Like, we've got, you know, you could say the same thing. Well, Nico Hülkenberg has never driven the Sauber before, but he's doing really well. Yeah, but the Haas and the Sauber are so much closer to one another in terms of how you can drive them and how adaptable they are to you. The Red Bull is so far off the end of the spectrum, it is ridiculous. The Red Bull is so hard to drive and so hard to adapt to compared to all of the other cars on the grid that you can't really compare how a driver can move from one team to another compared to one team to Red Bull, because the Red Bull car is just so hard. If Max leaves, who will replace him at Red Bull? I think that is an impossible question to answer, because I think they would just fall apart. I think they really would just fall apart. Look at it this season. Red Bull would have 7 points without Max Verstappen. Alpine have 19, and they've only got one driver, in all fairness, in Pierre Gasly, but Alpine have 19 points. Red Bull would have 7. I know that you could argue, well, maybe Max Verstappen's points would have gone to the other Red Bull driver, but Liam Lawson wasn't looking overly close to the points when he was in there for just 2 races. So, okay, maybe Red Bull would have 40, 50 points at an absolute maximum, I reckon. Like, even if you gave them Hadjar's points, they still wouldn't be anywhere close to where they are now. Do you genuinely feel like without Max Verstappen, it would be a backmarker team? Not a backmarker team, backmarker Constructors' Championships point scoring, even though the car is actually well capable of podiums and wins, as Max Verstappen has shown. Do I reckon McKees will help bring changes like that? Great question, Dan. Congratulations on 200k, by the way. I think we talked about it during Free Practice 1 when you weren't here. So you can go back and watch me sing your praises if you want there, but I'll say congratulations again. But yeah, McKees, I think the reason that, you know, he's been brought in, you look at the way Formula One is going at the moment and the fact that every team at the moment is moving away from having a team principal who is sort of a drivery kind of guy, or like a finance kind of guy. I know Toto Wolff is the exception a little bit here, but you look at all of the other teams, Aya Komatsu versus what Gunther Steiner brought to the team. You look at how McLaren, who are now winning the championship, have got Andrea Stella there, and they've given everything else to Zach Brown to kind of do in the background. I think a lot of teams are moving towards having a real technical team principal, somebody who has worked in the engineering side of things and somebody who really brings that technical knowledge to the team principal role, and then almost sort of splitting the team slightly. I don't think we're going to have any teams like we did maybe 20 years ago, where if you ran the team, you ran everything. Or like Toto Wolff kind of does, although Toto Wolff's very good at delegating his role to other members of the team. But I think we're now looking at team principals that are mechanical, and they are in charge of the car and the day-to-day running at the track. And then a lot of the other things that we used to sort of talk about team principals about, you know, Eddie Jordan was the one, right? The wheeler dealer side of being a team principal and putting together deals. I think that will move away from the team principal role. And I think basically we'll end up with team principals who, yeah, Wheatley and Binotto is a really, really good good example of that, Flaps. Thank you for that. Yeah, you look at how Sauber or Audi, they've come into the sport. They're going to be new to it next year, but they've completely reworked how the dynamic of that team is going to then be moving forwards. And they've given Jonathan Wheatley the running of the team. He's, you know, the technical guy. He's been at Red Bull for a very long time. He understands that side of things. And then you've got on the other side, you've got Binotto, who's then running sort of the beyond. Although Binotto has a lot of mechanical understanding as well. So both of those, you could argue, have a lot of inside knowledge of being on the track. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about Eddie Jordan was known for being a team principal, but first and foremost being the guy that was getting the deals through the door, that was making the money behind the scenes. I think they're just going to move away from that. And you're going to have teams split up in more of that fashion, akin to what McLaren have been doing, I think. McLaren is setting the standard now. You know, Alpine, when they recently rejigged their entire setup before rejigging their entire setup before rejigging their entire setup. But when they did, they went down that route as well. And they sort of said, well, they copied the McLaren setup. They said, right, we're going to have 3 or 4 heads of different mechanical parts of the car. We're going to split it up. And then they've managed to sort of put that in one way or another. It's not gone amazingly for Alpine, but I think that's outside of the team's fault a lot of the time. Also sponsors, yeah, he was the money boy. He was the money side of thing, and I think you needed that. You needed the team principal needed to bring that, and Toto Wolff kind of brings that for Mercedes, right? Still, but I think Toto Wolff is now the only team principal, I would say, that doesn't have any mechanical. I know that he was a driver, but he doesn't have any technical. Mechanical experience, I don't think. I might be wrong, but I think he's the only one now. Just trying to run through them in my head and actually make sure that I'm right there. I think I'm right there. What's my favorite livery? Change of pace, love that. Shall we move towards? I think the quali standings. If we pop it up, there you go. There's the free practice standings for you. If you did miss free practice, Piastri was quickest, Verstappen second quickest, Norris third fastest. And the Alonso Stroll Aston Martin pairing, best of the rest. But I think it's going to be weird because we're going to see a lot of medium tyre running, obviously, now during sprint qualifying. But then in the real qualifying, you'll obviously be able to use the soft compound tyre at this point. And the soft is an additional step softer. So actually, if we have a look at this, you'll notice normally the tyres run in order. So normally we have the hard as the C1, then a C2 medium, and a C3 soft. Pirelli have decided to mix it up a little bit. And they have actually, instead of it being sequential, we've got the C1 hard. But where normally the soft would be the C3, that is now the medium, and the C4, so they've brought in almost like a super soft to be the soft compound tyre with the C4. So instead of picking a sequential 3, I think that could also have a little bit of a spin on how the compounds work, because Spa is pretty heavy on the tyres, and I think we'll see a lot of the teams leaning on the hard compound tyre during the Grand Prix. And possibly, I was trying to work it out, I was like 17 laps. Do you run the hard compound tyre or the medium compound tyre during the sprint race? Because effectively what you're saying there is, do you run the hard or do you run what would have been the soft? And if you'd have seen people running the hard compound tyre and the soft compound tyre in a sprint race, you'd have thought someone was mental. But actually, because of the way they've split the hard and the medium this weekend, that's going to be a really interesting factor. You know, do you run the hard or effectively a soft during a 17-lap sprint? I think we'll have a lot of teams lean on the hard, personally. But if people do go for the medium, or maybe the medium does become the standard, then we have a real interesting battle when it comes to the race, because you're assuming, again, the hard and the medium is going to be the race tyres. And how do you balance those two, especially on a sprint where you have got to use a lot of those tyres, especially if it isn't raining, and it's currently still not raining. We're expecting a bit more rain over the course of the weekend. We are expecting more rain, to be fair, towards the sort of latter stages of the racing weekend. But I think it could be quite a curveball, and maybe an underplayed curveball. I haven't heard too many people talking about it in depth, or at least on the Sky Sports coverage. They haven't sort of gone into that detail about the tyres, but it is generally a pretty stressful track for the tyres. It's not ridiculously like abrasive or anything like that, but super high speed corners and a lot of things going wrong there. But that could be interesting. The tyre separation. Cannot remember what I was doing. C1 seems very slow. Be able to pull off one stopper. Exactly, Daniel. Like that's the back and forth, I think. But then do you want to be running a soft compound tyre in the race? A lot of them go against that idea, right? You don't really want to be running the soft compound tyre in the race, because that always just seems like a bad idea. You never know. Oh, actually, does anyone want to do me a favor and make sure that the stream is working over on Twitch? Because we're trialing, now that we're in the new house, we've got better internet. I'm trying to see whether I can run YouTube and Twitch at the same time. But I don't think I have seen yet anybody in the chat from Twitch. Because I I think it's going to be a slow build. It's back to day one. It's back to when we started doing these streams 3 years ago, and we had like 4 viewers. I think the Twitch is going to be in that realm. We're gonna just like 3 or 4 viewers chugging it along. I hope we can see what happens. Well, actually, I probably should change it to like sport, right? Sports. Done. Got a 45-second ad. Holy Christ. Twitch love that, don't they? Wow. 45-second ad. That is crazy. No wonder people are... Well, I've always been a YouTube stan. Hence why the streams have always been on YouTube. Because I personally, I don't know. I've never fully got into Twitch. But I've got some ideas. And now that we've actually got the house move done and we've got some settling in done. Like we've been here 2 and a bit weeks. When was Silverstone? Silverstone was the first one. Like the Silverstone, I was still moving things in that day. Like I was painting walls at the same time. Slightly behind, but it works. That's fine. It might be slightly behind, but people won't notice. Unless you've got both streams open, you probably wouldn't notice that it's slightly behind. But thank you for that, guys. Appreciate it. You can follow us over on Twitch now. We've had that set up for ages, but I've never had the internet capabilities to be able to do it. Now, we hopefully do. He crosses his fingers. But yeah, a few ideas for the future. And I think having a Twitch there, maybe to do some bits and pieces, maybe do some little gaming streams or how. But yeah. Whoever thought of putting ads on a live stream is a good idea. It needs to be locked up. I think we've gone way off piste here, and we're not talking about Formula 1 at all. But I think YouTube, don't make a big enough deal about YouTube Premium. YouTube Premium is so good. Like, I don't understand why people don't have YouTube Premium. You know, you pay for Netflix, you pay for probably Amazon Prime, you pay for like Disney Plus, whatever. YouTube Premium, I get so much more out of YouTube Premium than I would out of a Netflix or an Amazon Prime. I just don't understand why people aren't absolutely all in on YouTube Premium, because I certainly am. But that's just me, so I don't get any ads because I pay for YouTube Premium. How's the weather? Looking stable at the moment. No rain currently. In fact, I can show you on the detailed board. Top right, top left for you, in fact. Humidity, 57%. Pressure, 968.7 MB. Millibar, I'm going to go for. Just use an ad blocker? No. Because then you're not giving back to the people that you support. I suppose because I'm also a creator, I would not enjoy watching somebody's video if I wasn't giving at least a little bit to them, you know? I know it's only pence per view or whatever, but with the amount of YouTube that I watch, that probably does add up. So like, I want to give back. Also, people that you watch earn more if you have a YouTube Premium subscription. I have no idea how that works, but YouTube also give more money to the people that you watch if you are a YouTube Premium member. So as much as I should be like shilling become a member of the channel, also go and become a member of Dan, by the way. Dan No Skill. Become a member over there. But get YouTube Premium first. There you go. Sally's involved. Pretty generous with the amount of people that you can share with. Exactly. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, I don't know why YouTube don't sort of advertise it more. It seems like a very, very small part of YouTube's like advertisement is to do with YouTube Premium. They never really go on about it. But you'd think they'd want to push it quite more. There you go. It just means that you don't get any ads. Like, that's all it really is. You're paying for ad-free YouTube. But But that, for me anyway, is well worth the additional little boost of money. But we are about 5 minutes away from sprint qualifying now. As we just said, medium compound tire onto soft compound tire, so C3 onto C4. Generally speaking, I think we're looking at bottom 5 drivers. Who's going to go out in Q1? That's the prediction that we need to be making right now. Which 5 drivers could we see being the slowest of the 20? The Hasses are both in there. The Alpines are both in there. And Tsunoda was in there from free practice. I don't know if I can see Gasly dropping down in the bottom 5. Just does not seem like... I'm lucky. YouTube Premium, so I get more money. Exactly. You're also supporting creators, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Car May Be Mighty. I massively appreciate a view. Well, I appreciate a view from anybody. I doubly appreciate a view from a YouTube Premium member, and I triply appreciate a view from a member to the channel. You know, how much do you want to be loved? I love you, but I could double or even triple love you. And that's the real question you need to be asking yourself. I have a friend named JB. I think JB is quite common. If you have the initials JB, it just sort of comes straight away. I think the nickname seems to be one that sticks. Everywhere I've worked, as soon as people have noticed my initials, someone's called me JB. Oh, there we go. Ruin's gone for Stroll, Ocon, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Behrman. That is harsh on Bortoleto and Behrman, I think. But I can understand it. Neither... No Tsunoda in there. Where do you think Tsunoda's going to come? Tsunoda's really struggled getting into the top 10. There's some horses. Lovely. When will qualifying start? We're about a minute away from the start of qualifying. I quite like that. Stroll, Ocon, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Behrman. I want Bortoleto and Behrman to get through, but I think it's just so competitive in the midfield. You're then sort of saying, well, who's going to drop out in their place? Maybe a Lawson, maybe a Tsunoda. Then it's like Hulkenberg, and you're like, no, I don't really want that. From Singapore, hello. I'm representing the great country of Singapore on the wall. If you could get me an invite, some sort of tickets over there, that'd be absolutely amazing. But we are about to get underway. Max Verstappen there, third in the championship under new regime. Laurent Mekies. I've heard Mekier as well, which is very French. Maybe we should go Laurent Mekier. Laurent Mekier now leading the Red Bull team. Be interesting to see. Obviously, you won't have had any impact on how they do this weekend. But be interesting to see how it develops throughout the year, what Max Verstappen says of his new team principal. And again, how much positivity and negativity maybe there is around 2026 for Max Verstappen. Although George Russell seemed in much better spirits about him staying with the Silver Arrows for next season and beyond, didn't he? So it does feel like the Max Verstappen to Mercedes rumours are starting to trickle away once again. The plane tickets to Singapore will be more expensive than the tickets to watch the race. Yeah, probably. It's all going to be very, very expensive. Hello, Green Gamer. How's it going? Do I think Max will leave? Not in 2026. I could see it happening in 2027, which is what I've kind of said from the start of this whole rumor mill that's been going around. Can very much see a Max Verstappen move happening in 2027. I think that is more likely. But there is a green light at the end of the pit lane. And now we wait. Here we go. There is a Ferrari leaving the garage. Didn't quite catch which of the two it was, but I'll let you know once they get on track. I think it was Charles Leclerc. It was indeed Charles Leclerc. leaving the garage. Hadjar and Hulkenberg making their way down the pit lane as well. I think Isaac Hadjar is actually first in the queue to get themselves onto the track with 11 minutes left to go. Bortoletto making their way out to Hulkenberg and Lawson. Ocon joining them. Everyone on the medium compound tyre, of course, so you're only allowed to use the medium compound tyre during this first qualifying session. Ooh, Max Verstappen. Something happening on the rear right tyre of Max Verstappen's Red Bull. The tyre has been taken off and they're looking underneath. Possibly a rear right fault for Max Verstappen there. Trying to sort something out. They've only got 10 minutes on the clock, and obviously Max Verstappen needs to get out there well before the 10 minutes mark is closed. They are rushing around inside of that Red Bull garage to try and get that fixed. I'll keep you updated on that. Gasly, Antonelli, and Russell have also made their way out. The two Williams cars joining the queue in the pit lane. Considering we saw Charles Leclerc coming out of the garage, I suppose it's because they're all the way down that end of the pits. But we saw Charles Leclerc coming out of the garage fairly early, but has had to join the queue. Ooh, and Hulkenberg. Is that going to be an unsafe release? Liam Lawson and Nico Hulkenberg under investigation, but it was Hulkenberg at fault. And possibly an unsafe release there for the Stake Sauber team. We'll have to wait and see, though, because these unsafe releases, especially during qualifying, are sort of 50-50. You often see cars just butting in where they can to make sure that they are released into the correct, or what they deem the correct position in the queue. Sainz and Albon are indeed out, though. Isaac Hadjar is going to be the first driver to set a flying lap time. It's just coming up towards turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. And Eau Rouge being the... He's just the most mesmerizing part of any Formula One track, I think. That uphill, all you can see from the inside of the cockpit. Like, I love when they show the driver's POV, because all you can just see is the sky, and then suddenly a racetrack appears in front of you as you hit turn 4. And you've that straight all the way down, DRS wide open towards turn 5, then the chicane. And then turn 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is probably one of the most technical parts of any Formula One circuit as well. So it really does test you, Spa-Francorchamps, and there's a reason it is an absolute classic of the Formula One calendar. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, I'm also just having a little look at, because they were towards the back end of the pack. Carlos Sainz getting out of the way of Isaac Hadjar. Hadjar being outdone. Esteban Ocon quickest in the first sector of anybody, and by a considerable margin. The first driver into the 29-second first sectors is Esteban Ocon. Russell and Leclerc have started their flying lap. Max Verstappen is making his way out. Oh no, sorry, he is out. He's making his way towards turn 5. Who's that making their way out? It's Fernando Alonso. Don't know how I got those two models, but there you are. Nico Hulkenberg second across the line and second fastest overall, a 1:43.2 for the recent podium position man. Liam Lawson goes second fastest to his teammate by 1/10 of a second. Bortoletto gets to within 1/10 of a second of Isaac Hadjar, but still Hadjar at the top of the timing sheets for now. Esteban Ocon just making his way down towards turn 18 and 19 as Oscar Piastri is going to start his flying lap ahead of him. Ocon comes across the start-finish line and goes third fastest overall. So it's Hadjar, Bortoletto, Ocon. Behrman comes across the line to go fifth fastest. Next in line is Pierre Gasly. Oh, and Kimi Antonelli has gone a little bit wide and off the track. So Antonelli's going very slowly. George Russell overtakes his teammate. Hopefully didn't cost Russell too much in that final part of the lap. Antonelli's going to need to go again. And lap time deleted for Ollie Behrman as well due to track limits infringements. So Ollie Behrman, you can see there a violation in track limits and deleted. George Russell goes quickest of anybody, only by 0.06 of a second, though, in the Mercedes car. We're looking at Lewis Hamilton now. Colapinto comes across the line. He's last of anybody so far. There is Antonelli also completing his lap. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, though. What can he do? It's only 8th fastest for the Ferrari man. Charles Leclerc, his teammate, went 3rd fastest overall, a 10th of a second behind George Russell. Russell and Hadjar still the top 2 right now. Hadjar put in a stonking lap. Here comes Carlos Sainz to go 4th fastest of anyone as well. Here comes Alex Albon, his teammate, 9th fastest inside of the Williams, but does put Lewis Hamilton down towards 10th. Hamilton only with 2 drivers behind him so far. And here comes Lando Norris's McLaren to go top of the timing sheet as well. Oh my goodness. Oh, George Russell. And Russell complaining that he lost a lot of time because of the gravel from his teammate. Piastri a 141.7. Lando Norris 0.3 of a second off, have completely rejigged what we see as a good lap time. George Russell, who was fastest, now 0.8 of a second off the pace. Max Verstappen completes his middle sector. He's a couple attempts off Oscar Piastri as well, so likely to slot into that 2nd or 3rd place here, Max Verstappen, depending on how that final sector goes. Yuki Tsunoda is a 2nd off the pace, though, as he comes through the middle part of the lap. We are looking at Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso still yet to have finished a flying lap time. Kimi Antonelli is actually going slow, so I think building up to a final flying lap again. It's going to be tight, though, for Kimi Antonelli. Also, Lewis Hamilton under pressure from the sort of top teams, you would say, at the moment. Yuki Tsunoda comes across the line to go 11th fastest as well. So Tsunoda also under pressure, you would say, considering Antonelli, Stroll, Alonso, Behrman yet to set lap times. Behrman's deleted. Antonelli's also deleted, although wasn't very quick anyway. Here comes Lance Stroll to go 6th fastest of anybody so far. The Aston Martin actually looking pretty solid overall. Fernando Alonso looks to be doing better than his teammate, and does. Fernando Alonso goes 4th fastest. 4th and 7th for the Aston Martin pair then, as they come across the line last of the big pack. George Russell and Isaac Hadjar have made their way into the pits. So is Bortoleto, Lawson and Hulkenberg. Behrman in the pits also. Just seeing the cars running around now. Kimi Antonelli has come across the start-finish line to start another flying lap. Cannot afford another mistake. Neither can Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton now down in 16th spot, with the 2 Alpines joining him there. Ollie Behrman, no time set either. Ooh, and something on Ollie Behrman's rear left tyre, by the looks of things. That won't help with the grip that he needs around this very, very tight circuit, where every corner is a real task. Getting their damn nose skill. Alonso P4. He'll be very happy about that. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. It was a mistake at turn 14. That's where it was. And then also the dust and debris of Kimi Antonelli in front of him as well wouldn't have helped. Piastri and Norris have come into the pits. So has Max Verstappen. So our top 3 unlikely to run again. Everybody else out on track. Tsunoda is going to be first across the start-finish line of the pack that is out there, but Stroll, Leclerc, Antonelli, Alonso, Colapinto, Gasly, Hamilton, Ocon, Russell, Sainz, Hadjar, Albon, Behrman, Lawson, Hulkenberg and Bortoleto all out on track at the moment as it stands. Here comes Yuki Tsunoda to start his flying lap time then. Only 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, and quite a queue actually forming behind George Russell, you have to say. It's going to be interesting to see if everybody gets across the start-finish line here. 1:13 to go. Nico Hulkenberg is just coming around turn 10. But everyone's going to be slowing down in those final couple of corners just to give themselves that extra little bit of space. You don't really want to give the driver in front too much room, though, because them punching a hole in the air for you all the way from turn 1 down towards turn 5 is quite nice. It's only that middle portion of the track. You don't want to be in the dirty air of them in front. So it's kind of this give and take. You want to position yourself perfectly behind the driver in front so that you get that slipstream and a little bit of a generator, lack of drag going through that first part of the lap, but then also so that you're not in the wake of them in the second part of the lap either. Oh, as Gasly and Tsunoda are now under investigation for a little impeding one of the other. Gasly going very quickly through the first sector. Fernando Alonso has gone quickest of anybody through the first sector, even quicker than the McLarens and the Red Bull ahead of him currently in the standings. Hamilton, Gasly, Colapinto, Antonelli and Behrman, though, the 5 drivers that we're really keeping an eye on. Lewis Hamilton's not an amazing first sector time from him. It's a little bit better, but not better by a big stretch. Especially considering Gasly is going quick ahead. Oh, I think Alonso might have made a mistake through the middle part of the lap because Colapinto has just gone past him. So Alonso possibly gone a little bit awry there. Just keeping an eye on Lewis Hamilton's time. It's a little bit better through the middle sector as well from Lewis Hamilton. It's going to be close, especially because there are still drivers behind him completing their laps. Colapinto now coming around the final couple of corners. Can Colapinto get himself out of that bottom 5? No. Oh, and it's Lewis Hamilton. He spun. Lewis Hamilton's going to be out. That is Lewis Hamilton out of qualifying. Colapinto couldn't improve. Antonelli also could not improve enough. So Antonelli is out. Hamilton is out. A yellow flag in the final sector is going to completely ruin Ollie Behrman as well. Come on, Hamilton, get out of the way. Ollie's coming. There we go. Hamilton's out of the way. Ollie Behrman is going to be able to complete this lap. Albon, Hamilton, Colapinto, Antonelli currently in that bottom 5. And Behrman goes 14th fastest. Ollie Behrman has improved. Keeping an eye on Alex Albon. Albon comes across the line. Only 16th fastest in the Williams. So Albon is going to be out of it. Where's Nico Hulkenberg? Hulkenberg comes across the line. Also not good enough. Not good enough from Nico Hulkenberg. And that is a few big names dropping out in Q1 there. Especially... Wow, okay. So Alex Albon goes 16th fastest. Nico Hulkenberg, 17th fastest. The 2 drivers that have been absolutely schooling the midfield, you would say, at the beginning of this season. Albon over the first 6-7 races and Hulkenberg in the last 4. They're both out of it. Lewis Hamilton with a mistake as well. I think it was turn 18. Let me just have a little look. Oh, just... rear brake lock-in for Lewis Hamilton. Completely loses it. It is a full 360 from Lewis Hamilton at the bus stop. And that is very untoward. You don't see that very often at all. Colapinto then also not quick enough in the Alpine, but Antonelli just messed up both of his laps. Big mistake on the first laps. Slightly smaller, but still significant mistake on the second lap. Also kind of ran into Lewis Hamilton as well. And Antonelli saying on the radio, Bono saying we need to have a little look at this car, see what we've done to the floor. So possibly not an Antonelli fault. Maybe something that Mercedes were trying with the floor, risking it because it's only a sprint qualifying session versus maybe making some subtle changes for the full qualifying to come tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see, but Antonelli is indeed out. So two big names, Hamilton and Antonelli, opening the door really in that top 8 for, again, some of those midfield drivers to pick up points. It's been a consistent factor this season that we haven't had a really solid top 6, 7, 8 that we did have last year. You know, you look at the fact that that top 8 was almost exactly the same through every single Grand Prix last year. Now we have a real change when it comes to that top 8. Mainly because Antonelli is still learning. Hamilton has had a few weekends like this. Yuki Tsunoda hasn't really been there. It's been more of a top 4, top 5, you would say. The two McLarens, Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc have been there pretty consistently. Hamilton then aside as well. But it's opened the door for the midfield battle to be really complex because they're able to pick up those high point scoring finishes. Like, you're looking at it now, if Tsunoda again doesn't manage to finish inside of that top 8 come sprint race tomorrow, that's 3 point scoring places, because assuming Piastri, Verstappen, Norris, Leclerc are kind of in that top 5, Russell in that top 5 again with them, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 6th, 7th, 8th still deliver points tomorrow. Who's going to be in there? Hadjar, Stroll's there at the minute. Alonso's up in that top 8 as well. Will it be Aston Martin's day? During the 5-car battle between Maldonado, Gutierrez, Sittel, De Resta and Hulkenberg for P11. What are you on about? I've missed some context there. Only one of those drivers is still on the grid, right? Although Adrian Sittel now has the record for the most Grand Prix without a podium. Although, it depends how you see it, right? I think now that Nico Hulkenberg has got that podium, that record should be taken away from him. Right? You can't have the record for the most races without a podium once you've got a podium. It's kind of gone now. So I think that gets given to Adrian Sittel now. And there's nothing you can do about it, because Adrian Sittel has not been a Formula 1 driver for a very long time. Oh, the last time where we saw a driver make a mistake at the bus stop chicane. Very good, very good. Yeah, that's very true. Maldonado did smack into Paul. Maldonado smacked into quite a few drivers, though, didn't he? Over his time. Yeah, that was Antonelli's big spin. Mid-corner as well. Maybe it was just something not quite set up on that car right. Because it does feel like he just hasn't got the confidence in it. And then there's a slight hesitation, and during that hesitation, it then spins completely. And looking at Hamilton's lap. This was his initial lap. Yeah. Gets a little bit too much curb maybe, and then a little snap when the grip released. Also then has to get past Kimi Antonelli too. But the bus stop chicane mistake is the one that is so unlike Hamilton, one, and secondarily just not really something that you see often. No pass to Maldonado slander. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry, Dan. I apologize. He is a race winner, so should put respect on his name. Yeah, Spain 2012. Although there's a lot of conspiracy theories about that Spain 2012 win, isn't there? There's a lot of investigations, actually. Should we have a little look? How many of these investigations are just going to after the session? So Hulkenberg and Lawson, for Hulkenberg's unsafe release, was a no. They're all the investigation incident involving Gasly, Russell, Antonelli, Tsunoda, Sainz, Hadjar, Albon will be investigated after the session. It's going to be the race director's instructions, isn't it? Maximum delta time, always is. What was the other Tsunoda one? Oh, yes, Tsunoda involving Tsunoda and Gasly impeding, but that's going to be investigated after the session as well. So the two things that actually happened in the pit lane incident and the Tsunoda Gasly incident, neither of those looking like anything's going to happen. The Gasly Tsunoda one will be looked at after the session. Hamilton is out, and we see him there wandering down towards the weighing machine. And out of this session. Remember, won a sprint race earlier on in the year, Lewis Hamilton. He won the Chinese sprint. Just does not feel like there's been that many positives. Does not feel like that really happened, does it, with Lewis Hamilton? Lewis out of it, and the tractor now out there trying to get rid of some of the gravel that is on the track. All of Hamilton's podiums this year were only from sprints. Very true. Very true. Although Charles Leclerc's only been on the podium 4 times from 12 races, right? So it's not like Ferrari have been absolutely storming it and Lewis Hamilton should have been on the podium a lot more than he has. It's just been generally that Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc haven't really been in contention for it. I think Hamilton has finished second 2 or 3 times, though. Fourth. It's finished 4th 2 or 3 times. So that might play a role when you're sort of looking at Hamilton's season so far. What's my favourite F1 track? I think that'll suffice. I'll just stand and point for a moment, and there we are. When does Q2 start? We're a couple of minutes away. They have decided to send out the tractor to try and get rid of some of the gravel that Kimi Antonelli brought onto the track. So it's just been delayed by a couple of minutes. But there you go. Track clear, sector 15. Estimated time of SQ start is in 2 minutes' time. Also, I've just realised that this is actually creeping underneath, isn't it? Understeer at turn 18 for Nico Hülkenberg and oversteer at turn 19. So struggling inside of that car was Nico Hülkenberg and out of the session. So again, something for them to be thinking about going into next. I was going to say next time, but it's tomorrow. The next qualifying session. Whom you're rooting for, Lando or Oscar? Both. I'm a McLaren fan. I like both of those drivers. You can support more than one driver. You can support a team. I feel like that's where Formula One is a bit weird. You can support a team. You can support a driver. You can support a few drivers. It's not as sort of religious as other sports where like you pick a team, that's your team, that's it. Formula One is a little bit more fluid. You can support this person. You can support that person. You can swap teams when they move from one team to another. But we are about a minute away from the start of sprint qualifying 2. 10 minutes on the clock. Still medium compound tyres as well. So be interesting to see whether Piastri, Verstappen, Norris use the same set of mediums to try and save a set of medium tyres. If they're thinking about using the medium tyre for the race, they might try and do that. But I think with the tyre change and with the fact that it's likely to be wet anyway, it could be a bit weird, couldn't it? I don't know if they're going to necessarily try and hold on to tyres in that way, especially if you're just running the intermediates twice because it is supposed to rain. Sonoda's not going to make Q3 unless somebody crashes. I mean, going off of the season so far, it's not the most bold prediction that I've heard, but maybe have a little bit of faith in Yuki. Of course, you really want to qualify top 8 here. Normally, top 10's enough because the top 10 positions pay out and you get points for those. But at the moment, we're just qualifying for the sprint, and the sprint only pays the top 8 drivers. So you really want to qualify top 8 if you can. Love to see Bortoletto finding his feet in the kick sour now. It is great, actually. Bortoletto was one of those drivers coming into this year that I was really excited about. I think just because, you know, during the time that I've sort of really watched Formula One with a bit more, you know, since starting this channel, I've definitely taken even more of an interest in Formula One than I did beforehand. But then also I've followed a lot more Formula 3 and Formula 2. And the fact that, you know, in the couple of years, or the 3 or so years that I've been doing the channel, Bortoletto was winning Formula 3 and then winning Formula 2 in back-to-back of those. Very, very excited to see what he can do. And I think, yeah, he's now starting to click just that little bit better with the car. Disappointing that he's only really got 1 point score finish from the last 4 Grand Prix. Because I think he scored 4 points, but in the same time, Nico Hülkenberg scored 31. So there's still a lot to learn, and there's still some steps that I think he does need to be making, but we'll have to wait. I stream free practice now also. I did today, mainly because I was testing out a couple of bits and pieces, which was good because now it looks like the Twitch stream does indeed work. For those of you on Twitch, hello. But yeah, I streamed free practice today because I had made a few changes behind the scenes to try and get things to work. But maybe in the future, I will I'll think about streaming the free practice sessions. Maybe we'll try it in Hungary as well, just before the summer break. We'll see what happens. I don't know if that many people really watch the free practice sessions. Nico scored 37. Yes, but I think how many did he score in Australia? Didn't he score quite a few of those in Australia? Am I wrong? I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he scored a good chunk of those in Australia. I want to say 6 of those in Australia. So yeah, in those 4 races where the stakes Albert car has actually been competitive, basically, I'm talking about the last 4 Grand Prix. So yeah, 31 for Nico, 4 for Bortoletto since Spain. That's where it's kind of gone. What happened to Lewis? Spun off, yeah, spun at turn 18. And didn't get a banker lap in either. So love a good gossip / news of the week with free practice in the background. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Yeah, free practice, I think, is one of those things that people generally have, like, to the side. Normally, I don't stream free practice because it's on a Friday. I'm at work. But I wasn't working today, as you can see. What happened to Antonelli? Also just made a couple of mistakes. A couple of mistakes for Kimi Antonelli. Went through the gravel. Didn't quite make it count. Piastri and Norris, though, deciding to get out early here. And Piastri quicker than Norris through the first part of the lap. Lando Norris going to be first across the start-finish line. Then Oscar Piastri behind him. I think both of them just not wanting to be in and amongst the chaos of the rest of the pack. But everyone else waiting until a little bit later. Having said that, Max Verstappen now makes his way out onto the track as well. Charles Leclerc. Here comes the rest of the cavalry. What happens in free practice? I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory. They are free to practice however they would like. They get an hour of track time, and the cars can do whatever they want, really, within that hour. So you can do a long run if you want to do a bit of practice for the race. You can do some short runs on soft compound tyres if you want to do a little bit of qualifying practice. You just sort of see a mixture of cars doing various things. Piastri, 0.4 of a second quicker than Lando Norris, though, through those first 2 laps. And Piastri quicker in every single sector, I think tells us the story so far. Of course, they are on the medium tyre, though. That is the one turn that we... Oh, Piastri lap time deleted. Turn 4. I was just about to sing his praises, and now Piastri's got to do it all over again. The banker lap no longer banked for Oscar Piastri. Quite new to Formula 1? Oh, no, I was only, yeah, You're allowed to be new. Welcome. Enjoy. It is the best sport in the world, in my opinion. But yeah, if you got any questions, feel free to throw them my way. Basically, one-shot quali. Yeah, well, basically, because Spa is the longest track on the calendar, as you can see, Lando Norris's lap time is nearly 2 minutes, 1 minute and 45 seconds. So, he, let's have a little look. Sorry, this is the replay of Oscar Piastri's track limits. I want to see how close it was. Oh, it is fair. He does kind of cut turn 4, is the corner right at the top of the hill. So you go turn 2, turn 3, and it's the sort of left kink right at the top of the hill. It's marginal, but if all 4 tyres were off the track, all 4 tyres were off the track. Piastri is going to have to go once again. That is not going to be fun for Oscar Piastri. I mean, I suppose that's the benefit of going early, at least, because everybody else is going to be right under pressure. They've only got one real shot at it. Max Verstappen goes quickest of anybody through the first part of the lap. Charles Leclerc following behind. 30.0 through the first sector for Charles Leclerc is an improvement on his previous first sector from the last qualifying session. But not quite close enough to Max Verstappen. Yuki Tsunoda, a 29.9 from Yuki Tsunoda. 28.9 would be insane. Here we go then. Max Verstappen also coming through the middle part of the lap. Little bit of traffic to contend with, but still 3.5 tenths up on Lando Norris's time through the middle part of the lap. Verstappen looking good for provisional pole here. I know that we're only looking for that bottom 5, but it's given us a real inkling into what kind of lap times they've got on this medium compound that you would imagine is going to be the compound they use in the race alongside the hard compound tyre as well. Here comes Verstappen then, and does indeed go way quicker. Wow, 0.6 of a second quicker than Lando Norris. And Oscar Piastri still yet to do a fast lap. Here comes Charles Leclerc, nips ahead of Lando Norris as well. So Norris not as safe as he was maybe hoping to be. Charles Leclerc jumps up into second. Surely the midfield pack can't also completely and utterly ruin Lando Norris's day here. Here comes George Russell on his flying lap, just starting it here. Let's see what George Russell's first sector time is like. Couple attempts off Max Verstappen, nearly 3 tenths off Max Verstappen's first sector time is George Russell. Verstappen going slow behind. Sainz just starting his flying lap. Ocon and Behrman, Tsunoda also coming around the final chicane. Just trying to get themselves that little bit of space. Ocon and Behrman. Behrman is going to get a nice tow from his teammate through this first part of the lap. The Haas cars trying their best to not be in that bottom 5. Tsunoda also there. Piastri's joined the pack. And Piastri, I don't think is going quick here. I'm a little bit worried about Piastri. Oh no, Piastri did do a flying lap. Whew, a 1:42.1. I missed that. I was like, why is Piastri going slow here? Because he was off his flying lap. I wasn't looking at where he was on the track. George Russell improved in the middle sector as well. Here comes Isaac Hadjar, who's 3.5 tenths off Max Verstappen's time through the middle sector as well. The times are going to start rattling in then. George Russell starting us off. It's 5th fastest from Russell. Yeah, it goes quicker than Tsunoda's time, although Tsunoda not really a respective time. But lower than the top 4 right now. Verstappen still quickest from Leclerc, Piastri and Norris. Here comes Lance Stroll. Stroll goes 6th fastest. Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson are side by side in this. Hadjar goes 3rd fastest in the RB, almost guaranteeing himself a place in the top 10. Liam Lawson also 5th fastest, quicker than Lando Norris through there. Liam Lawson. Fernando Alonso, 8th fastest, putting Yuki Tsunoda in a lot of trouble here. Here comes Carlos Sainz to go 3rd fastest of anybody. Sainz absolutely flying across the start-finish line. Here comes Esteban Ocon to go 3rd fastest as well. Ocon goes quicker than Carlos Sainz. Let's put George Russell in 10th place as Ollie Behrman also comes across the line to go 4th fastest. Here comes Yuki Tsunoda to go 10th. George Russell's going to be out here. Is George Russell on a lap? Gabriel Bortoleto goes fourth fastest. Oh my goodness me. They are finding lap time like crazy. Lando Norris is improving through the middle part of the lap. He's 10th fastest at the moment, is Lando. Gasly has put him into the bottom 5. So Norris, Tsunoda, Russell, Alonso and Stroll all down there at the moment. Lando Norris needs to improve. There's pressure on him. He's coming through the final couple of corners. He doesn't spin like Hamilton did. He's going to come across the line. He's going to be safe. Is Lando Norris to go fastest of anybody? That's how you turn on the heat, isn't it? Lando Norris, top of the timing sheets, puts Liam Lawson into the bottom 5. Wow. Lawson, Tsunoda, Russell, Alonso, Stroll. Both of the Aston Martins down there after it looked like they were having a good start to the weekend in free practice. And George Russell is out. That is both Mercedes cars out. Hamilton, Antonelli, and Russell out of the big teams already out. Yuki Tsunoda you could throw in there as well. That's opened up four spots in the top 8 for those midfield drivers to get into. This is going to be one of the best qualified sessions we've had so far this year. And it's only for a sprint. It's annoying it's only for a sprint, but it's only for a sprint. This is one of the best qualifying sessions that we've got. Because it has opened the door massively. You're assuming Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc, Piastri are going to be your top 4. Fair enough. But then 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th could be anybody. And there's 4-point scoring positions there. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th all play points for tomorrow's sprint race. And especially if you've got those midfield cars in there. So I think the problem that you've got in sprint races at the moment is when the top 8 is just the top 8, 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris, 2 Mercedes, 2 Red Bulls. Like when the sprint is like that, or when it has been like that in the past, the points differential, like gaining the additional 1 point by getting 1 place up, isn't really worth it for those cars that are right at the top end. Those cars that are scoring 200 points, 300 points throughout the season. For the guys down towards the bottom, you look at Ocon, Bortoleto, Gasly, Behrman, Sainz, Hadjar. This is going to be really, really important to where they are in the standings and how the rest of their season plays out. Because 2 or 3 point swing here and there can make a huge difference to your final position in the standings and can make a huge difference in the constructors as well. So this is going to be a very, very interesting final part to qualifying. And especially because we're on the soft compound tyre as well, which we saw a little bit of running of the soft compound tyre in free practice, but we haven't seen the soft compound tyre yet in this qualifying. So it really has opened the door for this to be a very, very entertaining final part of qualifying. You need to stick with us. You need to stick with us. It is going to be very tight indeed. Yeah, 8 different teams in SQ3. The only team has both of the cars through is McLaren, right? And the only team that has 2 drivers out... Oh, no, sorry. It can't be. It's got to be 7, right? Because we've got... Oh, no, sorry. 2 Aston Martins are out. 2 Mercedes are out. Everyone else has at least 1 driver left in. Ooh. Big difference in points awarded. I think this is where the sprint kind of falls down, as you say. Like the difference between 6 points and 4 points to the drivers right at the top end of the grid is not that big. But the difference between 6 points and 4 points for the midfield pack is quite a lot. I forgot Haas. Haas have got a driver through. Ollie Behrman and Ocon are through. Oh, with a team that got both drivers through. I did. I'm just getting too excited. I need to calm down. He's calm down a second. Hassles are both cars. I'm just looking at the drivers that are out. I'm not looking at the drivers that are through. Right. Let's get into it. Norris through. Verstappen through. Leclerc through. Ocon through. Bortoleto through. Gasly through. Behrman through. Sainz through. Hadjar through. Piastri just through. Lawson, Tsunoda, Russell, Alonso, and Stroll were the 5 drivers that we lost there in SQ2. Albon, Hulkenberg, Hamilton, Colapinto, and Tonelli were the 5 drivers that we lost at the beginning in first part of qualifying. We go through to SQ3, 10 drivers in there, 8 point scoring places, of course, available to them tomorrow during the race. I think this is going to be super, super tight between those cars behind and very, very competitive. Haas delusional syndrome pills aren't working right now. Haas have been good. Haas have just been under the radar good this season, I think is the thing. They haven't quite been the fastest team. You know, they haven't been blowing people out of the water like Albon did or Hulkenberg did at various points. But they also haven't been like horrendously slow at any point, you know. Haas have just been getting it done week after week, little by little. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. Both of them through. Here we go. Oh, we do have a little delay to the start. Double yellow in sector 14 and sector 15. So we do have a little delay to the start of SQ3. Thanks to the new subs. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Sally, for thanking the new subs. But I do appreciate it. All the new subs and all of the new followers over on Twitch as well. This is the first weekend we've had the Twitch stream available. It is there. Hopefully it's working. It says it's excellent to me, and I would agree. It is excellent. But yeah, if you want to follow us over on Twitch as well, because we're going to be adding in some Twitch bits and pieces. I've just got a few ideas that I don't think really work for the YouTube side of things. Especially if I want to just kick back and relax and play a game and have a chat with you guys. I feel like Twitch is going to be additional streams over there. Here and there. Oh, George Russell. Went through the gravel. Car didn't feel the same since. George Russell saying there might have been a little bit of damage to the floor of that Mercedes car, which would kind of line up, to be fair. He did fall away pretty significantly in that second part of qualifying. Was 0.9 of a second off Lando Norris and 0.2 of a second off making it through. You know, you look at Lawson and Tsunoda, you could maybe say that those two were pretty hard done by, in the fact that it was hundredths of a second between them and possibly Oscar Piastri dropping out. But really, George Russell, 0.2 off, that is more than enough for him to not really be in the mix. Oh, thank you, AquaXZ13 follows the Twitch. Oh, there we go. We've got people migrating over to the Twitch now. Piastri barely gets through. I know, that's what I mean. What, 0.04 of a second quicker than Lawson? I think he can see himself as very, very lucky indeed. And Gasly on the radio, absolutely exhausted after just the second part of qualifying, rinsing that Alpine for everything that it is worth right now, Pierre Gasly. He is doing everything possible to carry that Alpine team. Twitch allows me to watch with my screen turned off on mobile. That is a very good point. Twitch is very good for that. I don't know why YouTube doesn't do the sort of nested screen. But yeah, Twitch does, which is pretty nice. And Twitch, you can more listen to it as more of a podcast. So if you wanted to have it as more of a radio and like lock your screen, you can do that on Twitch too. Which was my thought process behind also allowing you guys to watch on Twitch. The problem was I had to wait until I'd moved house because I'd cancelled my Wi-Fi for my old house, then got told I wasn't moving, so I had to reinstate the Wi-Fi for a little bit, but I got worse Wi-Fi for that, like, however many months, 2-3 months, so then I couldn't do it. But now we've moved, it's all sorted, we're there, and we can do it over on Twitch too. So Twitch is an option. YouTube is still an option. Don't all go. As I see it, an inflection of followed the Twitch channel there. I wonder if we could get to like 1,000 followers on Twitch by the end of the year. I think that would be the goal, right? 1,000 followers on Twitch. That would be like more than enough for me to be like, makes sense, worth doing. Also, if you go on Twitch, then you can become a subscriber over on Twitch, and then you get it ad-free, right? So that's kind of worth. If you've got any Amazon, here we go, any Amazon Prime people, if you've got Amazon Prime, you can subscribe over on the Twitch using Twitch Prime, and then it doesn't really cost you anything. You get one free subscription per month with Amazon Prime, and it supports me. Think about that, guys. Think about the possibilities. Gasly P6, that's what I mean. He's absolutely rinsing that Alpine car. Like, the lap times that he is putting in, qualifying more so than the races, but I think that's just because the race pace of the Alpine isn't there for him to use. Like, you can rinse a car for 2-3 laps. It's hard to rinse a car for 50 odd and still be able to sort of perform to that level. But Gasly has been so quick. So good. Franco is losing his seat soon. Yeah, another 19th place for Franco Colapinto is not the way he wants it to be. Yuki Tsunoda also down in 12th place. Of course, he'll be fairly happy, though, because Mikie is a big fan of Tsunoda. They worked very closely together during his time at RB. The 10 races he's had at Red Bull haven't been amazing. It's not off to an incredible start under Laurent, but Tsunoda hopefully will get a bit of positivity from the fact that Laurent has come into the team. Fun fact, this is Mercedes' first season without world champions. Oh, that is a fun fact. Yeah, because Schumacher, then Hamilton and Rosberg, although Rosberg only for like, what was it, a month before he then retired. Then Hamilton all the way through. Ooh. Wow, there you go. Oh, Colapinto is basically just an Argentinian sergeant. Ouch. Fun fact, sad fact. Fun fact, but good fact. I suppose like it's not that amazing. Like, when did they start? 2010? Because they brought Brawn after 2009. So 2010, 15 years they've managed to go without having a non-world champion in one of their seats. But we are underway then. By the way, it has started. There's just no cars out on track. This is fully going to be a one-shot quali for all of the guys out there. Because they don't want to... One, because they don't want to run through that many soft compound tyres. Because it doesn't make sense to, considering you really want to hold on to those for the full qualifying that you've got tomorrow. And secondly, because the lap time around here is, you know, nearing 2 minutes, especially for a warm-up lap, you're looking at over 2 minutes. So you haven't really got the time within an 8-minute window to do a couple of warm-up laps and a couple of flying laps and sort of get it all sorted. So everybody is just going to go for the one lap here. This will be a real test of like one-shot quali. A lot of people call for one-shot quali, especially for the sprints, because it's something a little bit different. This is effectively going to be one-shot quali, apart from the fact that everyone's going to be on the track at the same time. I think if they did one-shot qualifying, it would have to be like one driver at a time, maybe in like reverse championship order or something like that, or like a ballot. So you get a mixed drivers in mixed order trying to qualify. I like Spa sprint quali for just having one shot and that's it. It's a good reason too, to be honest. Why live with shorts? We're live with shorts. We're live on Twitch. We're live on horizontal too. We're live in 3 different places, if you must know. If there's anywhere else you want me to be live, I'll give it a try. But it is going to be that one lap shootout that we are looking at. Checo signed with Cadillac? Not officially, but there's a lot of rumours about sort of Checo. There's a lot of rumours about Bottas. There was a lot of talk about, you know, whether or not they'd be able to get an IndyCar driver in there. Looking less likely now. I think maybe they want some Formula One experience, but they might go for an Indy guy at some point. But I'm really excited to see the cars out on track. Can we get some cars now, please? We are 5 minutes until the end of this qualifying session. Why is nobody on track? Because they're just waiting. Basically, this is going to be a one-shot quali. It is not worth you being out on track right now because the track is just going to evolve in front of you. The track is still getting warmer, I think, so they're waiting for the track to be as warm as possible. Basically, you want to be as late as possible to the party in this one. Having said that, we might see the current World Championship leader, Oscar Piastri. Tyres are on the floor. Tyre blankets are off. We've got a McLaren out in the pit lane. We've got 2 McLarens out in the pit lane. And a Verstappen. And a Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. They're all coming now. Here we go. Still think they should experiment with sprints and one-shot qualifying? I agree, Josh. I think so too. Although this is very exciting. I think the problem is this is only very exciting because it is basically a one-shot. Because of the track that we're on. Yeah, no time at all. This is a one and done. You have got no banker laps here. Lando Norris is out first. Norris, Verstappen, Piastri in that order at the moment. Leclerc is then next in the queue. So we are going to get the sort of big hitters done first, which in one way is a little bit frustrating because obviously pole position is the most exciting position to get. But in the other way, it does mean that the 6 drivers behind, Sainz, Ocon, Behrman, Gasly, Bortoletto, Hadjar, they're all going to be in the mix and they're all going to come across the start-finish line one after the other. So we're almost going to get our top 4 sorted. And then after that, we're going to get our bottom 6 sorted. And again, that bottom 6, whoever comes in 5th and 6th place here is going to have such a huge advantage going into the sprint. And such a huge advantage in the midfield standings. Like, there's a big chunk of points available. 4 points for coming 5th tomorrow. That is not to be sniffed at if you're part of that midfield pack. Oh, he's played itself perfectly. Sainz, Ocon, Behrman, Gasly, Bortoletto, Hadjar is going to be the final man across the start-finish line. The Frenchman has been talked about going to Red Bull. Could he do it? Will he do it? We'll have to wait and see what he can do here first before we look into the future. Here we are. Lando Norris just making his way around turn 18 and turn 19 now. Get your run out, turn 1. Verstappen also coming up behind him. Piastri and Leclerc just coming through the final sector also. Little bit of traffic for Lando Norris likely because Gasly and Bortoletto are going pretty slow at the moment. And therefore Hadjar also is kind of dropping back. But looking at Lando Norris's lap time to begin with here. Norris up the hill he goes through turn 4. It's looking very nice indeed. Down towards turn 5 and the first sector is a 30.1 from Lando Norris through that first part of the lap as he hits through turn 5, 6. Then into the technical part. 7, 8, 9 is the tricky bit for Lando. Tricky bit for everybody. Verstappen also coming through the first part of the lap. Verstappen's gone quicker in the first sector. So Verstappen goes purple in the first part of the lap. Can Piastri go quicker still? No. Max Verstappen is the fastest man through the first sector right now. Can Leclerc battle it? No. It is Verstappen who is fastest at the moment. Norris, though, is just coming around to finish the second sector. Let's see what his lap time is like through this middle part of the lap. So 113 from Lando Norris through the middle part. 43 seconds pretty much dead from Lando Norris through that second sector. Here comes Max Verstappen. Can Verstappen go quicker? And Lando Norris is quicker through the middle part of the lap. Esteban Ocon has just gone quickest of anybody, by the way, in the first sector. Maybe Esteban Ocon is in the mix for pole position here. Lando Norris comes across the line. It's a 141.1 from Lando Norris. It's a good time, but Max Verstappen is going to be incredibly tight to it. Here comes Max Verstappen then, and Verstappen is quicker. Verstappen has found an extra 10th on Lando Norris, so Verstappen has provisional pole as the checkered flag drops. Here comes Oscar Piastri. Piastri was quickest of anybody through the middle sector. Can he go top of the timing sheets? Yes! Oh, and Piastri has found 4.5 tenths of a second. That is an insane lap time from Oscar Piastri. Here comes Charles Leclerc. It's only 4 fastest for the Ferrari. Esteban Ocon, though, was quickest of anybody through the middle part of the lap. Carlos Sainz has done a 141.7. Here comes Ocon and Behrman then. Can Ocon and Behrman outdo Carlos Sainz? Yes, Ocon goes 5th fastest. He's a second off Oscar Piastri's time. Ollie Behrman, though, is behind Carlos Sainz. So it's Ocon, Sainz, Behrman right now. Gasly is going to be next across the line. Then Gabriel Bortoleto. Isaac Hadjar is going to be last. Here comes Pierre Gasly then, round the final couple of corners. What's Gasly's lap time looking like? He's pretty swift through the middle part of the lap. It's Pierre Gasly. He's going to go 8th fastest, though. He's lost a 10th or 2 in the final part of the lap. Here comes Gabriel Bortoleto to go 9th fastest. So only Isaac Hadjar can displace Esteban Ocon as best of the rest. And he goes 9th fastest in the RB. So Esteban Ocon, take a bow. Fastest of anybody through the first sector, Esteban Ocon, and also a 5th place start. So both of the Hasses are going to start inside of the points tomorrow. Carlos Sainz is going to start in 6th. Pierre Gasly is going to be in the final point scoring place. Isaac Hadjar and Gabriel Bortoleto are going to start 9th and 10th. Really was a rookie run down there. Behrman, Hadjar, Bortoleto, all in that final part of qualifying ahead. Well, Hadjar and Bortoleto ahead of their more experienced teammates. Oscar Piastri takes pole position for the sprint race tomorrow then. We will be live for the sprint race tomorrow. Don't you worry. Make sure you subscribe to the channel or you're following over on Twitch so that you don't miss it. Max Verstappen is going to start beside him in 2nd. Lando Norris, his championship rival, is going to be on the 2nd row of the grid just behind him in 3rd. Charles Leclerc in 4th. Ocon starts inside of the point scoring places. He'll be 5th. Carlos Sainz 6th. Ollie Behrman 7th. And Pierre Gasly in 8th place to round out the point scoring starters. Of course, though, the sprint race could go any which way, especially if there is a bit of rain or drizzle to mix into proceedings tomorrow. Hadjar and Bortoleto will start 9th and 10th just outside of the point scoring places. We lost Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, George Russell, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll in Q2 in that order, starting 11th through 15th. And Albon, Hulkenberg, Hamilton, Colapinto and Antonelli will start at the back of the pack, 16th through 20th. They didn't make it out of Q1. Absolute cinema indeed. What a qualifying session that was. Hands down, one of the best sprint qualifying sessions that we have had, not just this year, but in general. Really exciting to see all 6 of those midfield drivers battling it out right at the end. I'm kind of a little bit sad for Hadjar, just because he's had such a good season so far. Kind of wanted Hadjar to be in there, but he's just 1 place behind the point scoring places, so definitely available for him tomorrow. But I'm going to disappear and I will see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be live twice tomorrow, of course, for the sprint race in the morning and then the qualifying session later on in the afternoon for the Grand Prix. And then on Sunday, we're live twice again. We're live for the Grand Prix. And if you are a member of the YouTube channel, you also get access to the post-race members live stream. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, join, become a member, all of that good stuff. And I will see you tomorrow for that. Who do we reckon's going to win? Is it Oscar Piastri? Is it Max Verstappen? Lando Norris on an outside shout? We'll have to wait and see.